So do as we always try and not only talk about running, but give you an insight into runners globally and the issues they're facing, but also to try and ideally get an understanding, a greater understanding of the world in general. And obviously, this last few months, last few years, really politically, have been dominated by Russia and Ukraine. So in fact, Serhii from our we get into guest as potential really good guest to get an understanding of what it's like to be a Ukrainian who as a very high level runner. I think he's run sub 2:25 in the past for the marathon, and to really find out what their viewpoint is on what's been happening and how it is to be living in the Ukraine currently. So welcome to the podcast, Serhii Popov. Hey Serhii, how you doing?
Hi, well, for now I'm fine. I'm finally in my Kyiv apartment. I haven't been here for a month since the start of the war, and came back only a week ago. So, well, it was very hard month actually, and it is still hard. But today I more like. Today my mood is much better because today is the first quiet day in the city without explosions, without shootings. So I can just sit here on my kitchen, take a cup of coffee and relax actually.
And because for the listener, we'll put this one as soon as we can out after we've recorded. Sometimes it takes a while, but just for the listener at home, to give you an idea of when we are, today is the 1st of April, and there is hopefully, well, it may be a temporary, but talk of a ceasefire, troops withdrawing from Kyiv. So that's the context of right now. But what we're going to do is really go back to his early days and just explain what it's like to be a runner and a Ukrainian from. And their relationship with Russia from the beginning. So, well, should we talk about your beginning days of running then? When did you first find out you had such talent?
Well, it was more than 20 years ago, actually. I was just, when I started running, I didn't even want to run. I didn't want ever to go for athletics. Actually, when I was very young, I wished I can go for martial arts. I really liked it, but it was quite hard times here in Ukraine, and not much money. And I found a coach, athletic coach, running coach, who could do it free. So I could not go for martial arts for free. So I went for a run for free. And after a couple of months, I feel like, well, I like it. I like running. I like that my results are growing. My figures on my watch getting better, and step by step, I just loved this. Loved this. Like running is like feeling that you are alive actually, and it is still so. I still feel so. Well, in my early days, just in a few years after I started running, I ran my first marathon, and it was not in Ukraine, it was in Poland, and my first marathon was 2:30. And in a year, maybe a little more, I don't remember exactly, I did my personal best in marathon. It was 2 hours and 22 minutes, actually. Then I had...
Was that the first year, you say, of moving to marathon distance?
Well, not yet. I started from shorter distances. So I ran 1.5 kilometers. I ran 3 kilometers. I was a Kyiv champion in 3 kilometers, for example, and 1.5 kilometers. I did sub 4 1.5, and I had 8 minutes 30 seconds for 3 kilometers. Then, but I really wanted to try marathon, and it is also a very interesting story because my first coach, his surname is Tchaikovsky, Vladimir Dmitrievich Tchaikovsky. He didn't want me to run a marathon. He told me, Serhii, you should run past 10K or 5K, and only after this you can run marathon. Actually, I had quite a good result for 10K. It was 30 minutes, 30 seconds in road race. And I also had quite a good result for half marathon. It was like an hour and 30 minutes. And I really wanted to run this marathon. So my first marathon I ran without telling my coach. And I told you that it was in Poland, in Wrocław. It was 2:30, and with this time I actually took the first place in my age category. And they gave me a very beautiful cup. It was my first cup for the marathon. And when I showed this cup to my coach, he told me, how could you do this? You're stupid. You didn't have to run this marathon. Something like that. Well, but actually...
I'm amazed you could hide it from him before then, because you'd think that just the nature of the training differences and the fact that you'd change your focus on the long runs, that he couldn't tell. They couldn't tell that from the way you were during track or during your other sessions, that you'd been sneaking in these extra long runs.
Well, it's another funny story because just 2 months before this marathon, I get sick. I had an operation, my appendix. So I had a surgery actually just 2 months before the marathon, and actually my coach thought that I'm still not running at all. But I started to run just 2 weeks after surgery, and I did follow the standard schedule of my coach, but I added some extra long runs to this, and after all, I did this marathon. Well, maybe if I didn't have this surgery, if I did. If I had better relations with coach, if I told him about this marathon, maybe I could do much better time. But actually, I was young, I was a little silly, and I really want to go abroad and run this marathon. And so it happened like it happened. And actually, I love that it happened just this way.
And is the marathon, because in the UK, the marathon seems to, for the public, be the race that everyone wants to do. It's the one that excites people. There's certainly been an element of, we've specialised in middle distance running for a while with, your Steve Coast, Steve Vivette. But even now with, Mo Farah having been as a meter champion, marathon is still the one that everyone wants to do. Is that the same in the Ukraine? In Ukraine, or have you kind of got different heroes that have shaped people's views on running?
Well, Ukraine is still in this situation of very great development of the massive running. When I on the times of my first marathons, yes, it was more than 15 years ago, actually. Running was not as common as it is now. So we didn't have competitions with such a high level, with such a great amount of people. So, and even this, my marathon, my first marathon, which I ran in Poland, it was like different world for me, because I did not see competitions organized so well in Ukraine. So actually, we didn't see it, but I see a huge jump in this massive sport. So now we do have a lot of marathons with very high level athletes, with very good quality of organization, and thousands of participants. So, and I think that we are still in this situation of development, of very rapid development of this. And a couple of years, just even younger, and the situation with ultramarathons is even more interesting, because it is younger kind of sport for Ukraine. You know, so yes, people run ultras all the time, but maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even it was like a few people gathering and run some long distance. But now, just for last, I don't know, maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years, it's still a huge jump for a few people on the start to hundreds of people on the start, even for the longest ultras. And I think this is great. So I think that Ukraine now, in this period of its sport development, like United Kingdom was, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 years ago. Like
and
the running boom.
And even within that, you know, there's almost booms, 3 booms. Strangely, the UK, in some ways, is more progressed in ultras in the past, that then kind of lost the big races in ultras, and now is almost coming back, but driven more by us looking outside the UK to America, to France, to Morocco. But then, so kind of tying this in with, as you were going older then, when you were younger and you were competing with, it was like, how did you view Russia and Russians and your relationship with them as a country? Because in the UK, we've heard what Putin's been saying. You know, his story of how, you know, Ukraine, Russia, brothers in arms, you know, together, one people. How have you felt your relationship has been in the past before any conflict happened? Like, what was your feeling and your view?
Well, it's actually my deep pain, you know, because my surname Popov is actually like a Russian surname. This is because my grandparents, they came to Ukraine from Russia, and our family had a lot of relatives in Russia. I remember that when I was really young, we visited Moscow. We visited our relatives in Moscow. I don't have their contacts now. When my grandparents died, all these relations was broken. But actually, I do have some roots in Russia. Moreover, my family always was a Russian-speaking family. All my life, Russian language was my main language, and all this time I freely used it in Ukraine. And hearing it always was some madness for me when I heard. I was in Russia several times when I was when I was older already, and I worked as a journalist. I had a few trips to Russia for work, for a job as a journalist, and it was very surprising for me that Russians really thought that in Ukraine there is some suppression of Russian language or Russian-speaking people, and that here in Ukraine some Nazis walk in the streets, and I did not really realize why they're talking this, because I am with Russian roots. I speak Russian. I live in Ukraine. I I move all around Ukraine. I was in all the parts of Ukraine. I I didn't see any Nazi here, you know. I did not see any suppression of Russian language or Russian speaking people. But in Russia itself, people, for some reason, maybe because of their televisions, maybe I don't know why, they thought that the situation is quite different. That it's like Ukraine is some strange country with strange Nazi people who killing and eating Russian-speaking children, and it all was Russian propaganda. And actually, it had place even 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It was strange for me.
It's been quite a long time that there's been the misnomer in Russia that it's not even just recently, but it's been a long time that they've been led to believe that the Russian a yearning.
There is. I think that we in Ukraine made a mistake. We did a mistake for a very long time concerning this our approach to all this situation. We thought that all their thinking and speaking about Banderovцы and the bad situation with Russian language. We thought it's something funny. We were just laughing at it. We didn't realize that all this was this foundation to start war in Ukraine, actually. We realized it somehow in 2014, but we still didn't believe that it is possible ever that Russia can invade Ukraine, Ukraine.
And I think that's true of the world, actually. It has felt as if globalization has continued at such a pace that we're really connected with everyone on Earth, and that it hasn't felt as if modern countries, say, or first world countries, or whatever the terminology would be now, it didn't feel as if it was possible for people to go to war anymore, because there was such an understanding of the horrors of war, and the fact that it's from country to country, and there's so much travel in between regions, and so would you say then, going back to how you felt, have you always felt Ukrainian 100% who happen to speak Russian, and do you think within Ukraine have you been seen differently by others because of your Russian heritage prior to these issues?
No, not at all. Well, I was born in Kyiv. My parents was born in Kyiv, and actually, well, I always had my place here. I had a good education. I don't know how this works, but actually, I had and I have a lot of friends that speak different languages, in different parts of Ukraine. And now, when I was working as a journalist, I had a lot of colleagues, actually, there is I don't know anyone who has these problems if he has Russian roots, or if he is Russian speaking, and somebody can do something better to him in Ukraine. Even in Ukraine, in Eastern Ukraine, more people speak Russian, a little less in Ukrainian. In Western Ukraine, more people speak Ukrainian, less Russian. But there's still, in every part of Ukraine, you can find people who speak only Russian. And we understand each other perfect. And, well, like Kyiv is, I don't know, maybe 60% Russian-speaking people here live here. It's the same situation in Zhytomyr, where I spent previous months, actually. And even now, when it is war against Russia, yes, we are defending ourselves. And a lot of people who have guns now defending Ukraine, these are Russian speaking. They put in their guns on Russians speaking in Russian language, actually. Telling them in Russian language to go home.
And that's something which I don't think I've not necessarily understood. And I don't think our news actually goes into that level of detail where we certainly know that people in the West, so the eastern parts are more predominantly Russian heritage than people in the Western, but we've got no real concept of how people, when was it 2014 when invaded supposedly by stealth, but there was almost I almost interpreted that there were a lot of people in the region who that was fine for, and it was almost as if the eastern part of Ukraine didn't mind the fact that Russia were moving in. Do you get a sense of what percentages or how firmly people who are do they feel a lot more as if they are Russian? And is there, do you get the sense that anyone was pleased from Ukraine when Russia invaded, or we don't really get a sense of the separation between, as you say, someone like yourself who is Russian speaking, Russian heritage, but fully sees themselves as Ukrainian, and whether there are people who exist in the East that
well, it's the situation of 2014 actually has a very deep historical part of all this, because even in times of Soviet Union, a lot of people were moving to Crimea and to eastern Ukraine, to this Donetsk and Lugansk region from other parts of the Soviet Union. So ethnically, yes, there are more. There are not many just ethical Ukrainian people. But my opinion is that in modern world we can't talk about like ethnical part, because all this well, it's all mixed. Yes, if my grandparents came from Russia, it was grandparents. It was parents of my father. Yes, but parents of my mother, they have like little roots from Poland. So yeah, who am I? Yes, I'm citizen of Ukraine, and no matter, it does not matter. Well, it's not correct to tell that I'm Russian or Ukrainian or Polish or something like that. The case is in this mentality of the people of that area. I know exactly that. I think it is a problem that had to solve Ukrainian authorities 10, 15, even 20 years ago, because all the time of the independence in Ukraine, Russia did some propaganda work in Crimea and in these eastern Ukraine regions. And actually, I can't say that Ukraine did something to prevent it. You know that there always was this Russian marine forces in Crimea. And I was in Crimea several times, more than 10 years ago. And even though it was, I remember that I was in Crimea in 2008, 6 years before all this happens with annexia. And in this time, occasionally I visited some music festival in Crimea, and it was a music festival with a lot of Russian musicians, like some kind of rock musicians and other. And in 2008, these people from the stage, they actually they told all this crowd that Crimea and Russia should be together, that we must be united, that we must be closer to Moscow, so something like that. And now I realize, I understand now that it was a part of this propaganda, of this preparation for annexia of Crimea. So actually, yes, there was a lot of people in Crimea and in parts of Lugansk and Donetsk regions who, for some their inner reasons, supported Russia. But there also was a lot of people who didn't support Russia there in these regions. But Ukraine in general was much weaker. Our defense forces was weaker. So everybody who could protest in that area against the Russian invasion in 2014, they just moved to other parts of Ukraine or abroad. And actually, most of the people who left in this part, in these regions, they're more Russian oriented. Someone was just like Russia just bought them. Yes, they gave them money. For some, there was a lot of support from old people who remember Soviet Union, and they really wanted to feel again this life in Soviet Union because they think it was better that way. More of younger people just left these places, and because most of Ukrainians want to be closer to Europe, not just financially, yes, but like with this feeling of liberty and freedom, you know, like maybe it's a like loud, bright words, but actually it is because it's living in Ukraine, you know, it's like living between two civilizations, which has quite different points of view on everything, you know, like, and Europe looks more like going to future, you know, and Russia looks like more going to past. Well, most people who I know, most my friends and relatives don't want to go to the past. We want to go to the future.
And up, a lot of Europeans could look across to America because in the same way, the flashing lights, the different sports, Hollywood, the films, TV shows, music and all of that. So I think, you know, everyone looks to somewhere else, don't they? And so when the Donetsk and the Crimea region, when it became apparent that Russia were invading unofficially, what did you then think? How did that feel? Because does that feel similar to now, but just an earlier form, or does it feel different? Because the way Russia positioned it was almost as if they were liberators there, Whereas I don't think that narrative is the same. They may be saying that internally, but there's no doubt that this is an aggressive act of war, what's been happening recently. Whereas at the time there was some confusion to begin with. Then it was, well, is this? It was harder to actually understand how strongly Russia were involved. And what were your thoughts during that period?
Well, it's quite a different situation 8 years ago and now. Those time it was like somebody has stolen something from you. Yes, it's really sad, but actually you can think that you can't do much about this because this guy is stronger than you. Yes, so you can just tell him that he made something bad, but you're not strong enough to take it back. That's what I felt about Crimea. And besides of this, I understood all the situations that I told you, that a lot of people in Crimea, they actually supported this invasion. And I like Crimea. I have been there. I was running there. I was just walking there. It's a beautiful place, but it's like feeling that it's not actually my place. Yes. And people who live at this territory, they really, if telling the truth, if 8 years ago someone told me to take a gun and go fight from Crimea, I'm not sure that I could go and fight for the Crimea, because I understand that not all the people of Crimea wanted me to do so. Now situation is all different, because it's not about just somebody trying to steal something from you. It's like somebody want to destroy you, just kill you. And you don't have choice. You must fight for your life. You must survive. And it looks very, very different. And today I'm ready to take gun and fight against Russia, no matter what, no matter how strong they are.
And I think actually that is reflected across the whole of Ukraine. From the way people are fighting, you can tell the reason Ukraine are putting up such resistance is purely through, well, not purely, but a lot of that is down to commitment and iron will not to surrender or give in. But then when, just bringing us back still again, just for one more time. So then when Russia stole Crimea, because from my point of view, it still didn't feel anywhere near like an invasion could happen. It was almost as if it felt as if Putin thought, well, I can get away with this. No one's going to march, and as you say, there's not much anyone can do. But at what point did you genuinely start to think invasion could be on the cards?
Well, actually, even in 2014, it was not like okay, they have taken it, so give it, take it and go away. Actually, not. We all this time thought that someday Crimea and all these parts of Donetsk and Lugansk will return to Ukraine. And it's not just a word from state policy of Ukraine. It's like what I really feel. Yes, because yes, I want to go. I don't know, for a summer in Crimea to visit these beaches because I like it. I like this place, and I myself, as a citizen, as just a human being, I don't understand why someone decided to not letting me visit a land where I used to be when I was younger, which was a part, which is a part of my country. You know? So there's still a hope that it can somehow, in some form, be part of my life and my country again. You know? Of course, it's always something we think, something we want, and something we really can do, because we understand that it is not possible for such a country as Ukraine to defeat Russia in open military battle. You know, Russia is a very huge country. It's a very big country with a great budget for army. Ukraine, even that Ukraine is the biggest country in Europe, actually, when we are talking territory. But comparing to Russia, it's very, very small country. And the problem in 2014 was the most problem was that Ukraine was actually alone, like quite not strong enough state power, not strong enough defense forces, and actually alone because all we heard from United States, Europe, European Union, just some words of concerning. Yes, everybody tells it, oh, hold on, we support you, you're very great people, but actually words means nothing at all. Today, as I see, situation is quite different, because we really feel much more support than we had in 2014. It is still not enough, you know. As I see it from my perspective, it is still not enough, but it is much better than it was before.
And how did you feel about you mentioned that you felt as if we hadn't how did you then feel about Europe and Europeans and their viewpoint of you as individuals, and also what were your relationships like with people from Russia, if you ever met them? Would you have discussions? Did you become enemies?
Actually, no. You know, well, I traveled a lot. I traveled a lot in different parts of the world, from South America to China. I did met Russians, not only sportsmen, but just ordinary people, when we just going for just for a vacation. And well, I don't know what will happen if I see somewhere, in Thailand, Russian people. But even after the situation in Crimea, I did not feel any. Well, I didn't hate them. You see, ordinary people, mostly they just like you and me. Yes, they have their families, they have their plans, they go for a vacation, they do some job, and so there is nothing to hate them about. All this time I thought, like, okay, you have this propaganda, you may not love Ukrainians, but actually it's just propaganda, and it's just your state power. It's just Putin who did all this. Not all Russians did this. And so I, even in all those trips, I didn't have any conflicts with Russians, but I did have some very strange situations. I can tell you, it's like something that that just make you laugh from Russians, because they sometimes they behave very strange. I remember a situation I was in Italy, in Rome, and I just was walking the city near the Coliseum, and I heard Russian language. And when I heard Russian language, I decided to just to ask how to reach one place in town. And I asked, they told me, and then they asked, "Where are you from?" I told that I am from Kyiv. And the answer, their reaction was really, really strange and don't understandable for me, because it was quite an old woman, and she told, "Oh, if I knew that you are from Kyiv, I wouldn't tell you where to go," something like that. So, and I, with my brain, with my mind, I can't understand why they're thinking this way. Like, I didn't do anything bad to this person. Yeah, I don't know this person at all. I politely asked her for some help, and hearing that if I knew that you are Ukrainian, I wouldn't tell you anything. It's so strange for me that I just, not in any country, not in citizens of I don't know, even of African countries or some Asian countries, no one behaves themselves like this. Mostly people quite open and something like that. I don't know. In Russia, something strange happening with their minds.
And would you ever converse with people about it from Russia and actually have conversations saying, what do you think of what's happened? Why are you supporting Putin's backing of the invasion of Crimea, or would you'd never get in those circumstances?
Well, during my vacations or competitions, I just try to avoid some conversations like this. And actually, mostly Russians avoided this conversation, these topics too. I don't know. Maybe it's not because it is not because I didn't want to get my opinion to them, but just don't to spoil my own vacation or my own visit into this country. I know, except a few things, I can tell you that now I remember a few meetings with Russians. I remember it was in Germany. I met one guy not a couple of years ago, and also a girl in France, and they was supporting Ukraine. These guys, they thought that this annexation of Crimea is not legal, that it is not right, and situation, this war on Donbass is not right from the Russian point of view also. But the situation is this Russian people who told me these things, they left Russia. So it was people who left Russia and live and work in Germany, in France, or in some other countries. Those people who still live in Russia, they think that Crimea should be part of Russia, and even Ukraine should be part of Russia.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess that's natural, isn't it? The more you travel, the more you're open to international ideas, probably the more you research information and have more than one news source. So at what point then did you, because when all the news headlines over here were about Putin's talking about Ukraine invasion, there's a risk of this, and I really thought it was just bluster. I thought it was because he was trying to get popular backing in his country, and even the Western leaders, I thought, were trying to act strong because they're thinking about the polls and the votes, rather than this could happen. At what point did you become concerned?
Well, I didn't believe in Russian invasion, even when I heard this first shootings, the first explosions in Kyiv on the 24th of February. Really, I told this story before. I was planning to go to Spain for a competition, and for the 24th of February, I had a ticket for a plane. I was already check-in together with my girlfriend. We planned to fly to Spain on 24th of February, and on 27th of February, I had to take part in ultra run in Barcelona. It's 6-hour race. So I heard all these warnings about possibility of Russian invaders, but I really didn't believe it. And I realized that the situation is really bad only when it happened. It was Thursday, and it was 5 a.m. in the morning, and we just woke up because of this sounds. We didn't even understand for the first time what it exactly was, because I had no this. I haven't heard anything like this before. Now this sounds like a part of everyday life, and we don't even scare it or something like. Oh, okay, it's this explosion, so it's not very loud, so it's somewhere quite far away from here, now we know how to separate really dangerous shootings from not really dangerous shootings. But on the 24th, on the morning of 20, even after all this started, even after we read the news that this happening all around Ukraine, that Russia strikes all main Ukrainian cities. Even after this, I had this thought that maybe just for a few hours and it all will calm down. Maybe it's not more than a week of something like that, and there will not be any war actually. Real understanding of the situation came to me on the next night, just on the 24th of February, when we realized that we can't fly anywhere because all airports are already closed. We moved to our friends in Irpin, and just as we moved here, all these fightings for Hostomel airport started. It's just very close, I live in the region of, in the part of Kyiv that is very close to Irpin. So we came there, and Irpin is very close to Hostomel, where the main fighting against Russians started just on 24th and 25th of February. And this was the first night from the 25th to 26th of February, which we spent in the basement. And the fighting was really close to our place. We heard all these shootings and explosions. It was very scary. It was like, it's not just what you hear, but you just feel how walls shaking, ground under you shaking. Almost every minute you thinking about like, maybe this is the end, the end of your life. And this was actual realization that it is very, very dangerous, and that this is real war, actually real war.
And how does that affect just your day to day? Because you still have to live. You can't leave the country, and some people have jobs that they can do, some people don't. Like, what have you been spending your time doing since that day?
Well, just the next day after this night in basement, we decided to move to Zhytomyr. It's 150 kilometers from Kyiv, like 80 miles or something. Why we went there? Because, well, actually, we was preparing to fly away from the country. Yes, we were preparing to fly to Spain for a competition, and then from a short training camp. So to do this, we had to get our car and our cats to my girlfriend's parents in Zhytomyr. So when actually the war started, our first thought was to get to Zhytomyr, just to get to a car, so we can be more mobile, and then decide what to do next. To join army, to join volunteers, to try to escape the country by car or something like that. And after we get to Zhytomyr, decided, so okay, we will stay here and we will do what we can do. First couple of days we tried to help these local defense forces, which were standing on block posts. So we just bought and bring there some water and food. Then we tried to help to build this block post. We was doing this sandbags and some other just physical work, just to make this city more protected,
And what are your interactions like with strangers now? When you go to a shop, when you pass someone on the street, what happens? What do you say to each other? How do you feel about each other?
Well, I can't say that something has really changed. People mostly the same. And this is a good part of the situation. Most people in Ukraine became, more friendly to you. Like you meet people, you go to the shop if it's working, because first few days it wasn't working at all, and you understand that you and your opponent, yes, this people on the cash desks, or just this policeman on the street, or anybody. So you together in one situation, you together in one danger and against one enemy, and that's why I can't even, well, during this month that passed, I can't remember any tiny conflict between people, just like in the shop or on the street, something like that, which actually is quite often happening in Ukraine, just in everyday life. So now this situation is different. More, you're trying to help each other more often, like in any way, from some physical help to money to something. Well, actually, after a few days trying to do some this volunteer work, physical work in Zhytomyr, I just started to raise money for our defense forces. We have this territory defense, local defense forces in Ukraine. Actually, I'm not in this local defense forces only because I don't have appropriate experience, like I was not in army, and I can't join them just because a lot of people who want to join it now. Even now, it was in the first day, and it is still like this now. So there are a lot of people with more appropriate experience that can join. So when I, on the second or third day, went to this point of gathering of men for this local defense forces, they just told me, no, we have enough people now, so to do something else. So, but we still need ammunition, like everything from clothes to some to vests, to hats, to helmets. So I started to raise some money, looking where to buy this stuff, and getting all this for local territory for local defense forces in Kyiv here. So this is the main thing that I'm doing now, actually.
And are you scared?
Well, I actually don't know. I can't say that I'm scared. It's like I just don't have this vision of future now, you know. It's not like a fear, it's just it's just something. No fear. I feel more like anger. I can say that I feel anger because all my plans was ruined. All like my job as a coach was, all this I did as a coach was ruined also. And so I really feel anger, but also I feel kind of excitement because what I do now with all this money raisings and trying to help other people, I feel that this is what I have to do now. And looking how a lot of people doing the same, I really have this hope that we have a great chances to win this war. Well, to start doing what we are used to do, yes, and just to return to ordinary life as fast as possible. I don't know what to do if all the situation will continue for months. I think like in half a year or more. Probably I will join army as well because, you know, this line for the people who have to join the army. It's going. So maybe something like this. But for now, I'm saying I think that I'm doing the most of what I can do. Just these days, just this week, I started to write training plans again, because a lot of people who I worked with before the war, my main income was from preparing training plans for people who want to run marathon or ultra or something. And now I know that some people, especially girls, yes, they moved to safe place. So for those who are in safe place now, I'm starting to write these plans again. Half of the money that I can raise by this, I write in these training plans for a donation. Like no fixed payment now, just donation, and part of this donation again I'm trying to spend of this things that our local defense forces need. Well, and you know, just for a few days, a lot of people asked me to add them to my plans. And it gives hope that, well, it's great actually. It's like I have this my my ordinary job again. Yes, like in the morning I'm going looking for some tactical gloves or boots or helmets, and in the evening I'm sitting and writing training plans for those who can train. And this week I even started to run again. It was very strange because all this week going out and I see this strike alarms and some explosions, some shootings, but I still run. I don't recommend anybody to repeat the same that I do, because it's really dangerous. But when I run, even when I hear the sounds of war, I still feel myself alive. And this is what helps me to move on, because I convince myself that this all will over sooner or later, but it's all will over. And when it's over, I must be in good shape to show the world who Ukrainians are, not only on battlefield, yes, but in competitions, in mountains, in road races, and so on.
And because we've had quite a few headlines over here where it's suggested that quite a few of the Russian soldiers have been misled or don't truly understand what they were doing. They were told they're going on exercises, or that it was kind of liberation. Do you get a sense of that from the people you've spoken to? That do Ukrainians believe that the Russian people, don't necessarily all? Are they more on your side than the actions suggest? And do you get a sense of what the atmosphere is like on the ground for the Russian side?
Well, I can tell you one thing. First few days when we heard about this taking these Russian soldiers and they told us that, oh, we didn't know that we are in Ukraine. Yes, we thought that maybe this is true, that this poor young soldiers who didn't want to fight, they was just tricked and put in Ukraine. But as time goes, a week later and another week later, I realized that it all actually lies. I think that at least for now, for this time, all Russian soldiers who are in Ukraine, they know exactly where they are and what they are doing. And well, no, I maybe should not, but I have to tell you some terrible things, because what this soldiers that tells that they didn't know that they're in Ukraine, and they was just on some trainings. They making horrible things in these areas that they actually has taken, like in these small villages of Ukraine and these small towns near the city. It's really shooting civilians, like killing not just men, just killing women and children, just shooting in civilian cars, raping very young girls. It's all that happening now, and it's all what Russian soldiers do. They behave like animals. No, there is no, like, I don't know what words can describe this. If you came to, like, this first claims of Russian authorities was like Russian army entering Ukraine to save Russian-speaking people. Well, it's not like raping someone is not saving someone. It's not the same, And this is what it's difference between what Russian television and Russian president says and what Russian soldiers, every Russian soldier, do here. They know that they are bombing civilian houses. They know, and they consciously do very, very bad things in those villages, in those towns where they manage to move on, to get closer to Kyiv. And this is really terrible things.
And do you think, because we have to hope for peace, we have to hope that this ceasefire continues, do you think you'll ever be able to separate the Russian people from the actions of Russia in the future? Do you think your relationship, next time you are at an event, a race, and you meet someone Russian, should you be able to see the difference between an individual and a country, or do you think you are now at war and unless they're rebelling against their leader, they are at war with you?
Well, I don't really know what should happen to well, I'll tell you another way. I know very few Russians who openly talking against Russian war in Ukraine. I know two Russian sportsmen, like one ultramarathon runner and one runner and the coach, that from the first day of this war, openly in social media, in other sources, they're just telling their position that they are against what Russian authorities and the Russian soldiers and Russia in general do in Ukraine. But it's only two people who I know, only two, you know. And just before before this podcast, I saw news about social survey in Russia, and more than 80% now supports this invasion. I just can't imagine it why this happened. And another thing, it's more about the professional sport, you know. It's more towards high level sport. But the situation is high level sportsmen from Russia. I don't know anyone who openly told anything against this war. I thought some general words about peace, that we all have to live in peace, but no words about who did this and why, you know. Nothing
and
against.
Why do you think that is? Because it could be argued that people are scared themselves, or that people don't feel strong enough to be able to publicly turn against someone as vindictive as Putin. Do you think that's why, or do you think that the narrative that has been pushed in Russia is actually truly think Ukraine should be part of Russia?
Well, you know, the more the situation continues, the more I think that Russians, most of Russians, don't tell true at all, even if they are telling something like we are for peace. Partly because they're scared. And I know people who moved from Russia and just tell them that we are scared, because we know that if we say something, they will put us in jail. So we can't tell anything. Well, but there are some sportsmen, very high-level sportsmen, that they just like situation happened, and there, you know, there's a lot of sport federations, running events, has imposed some sanctions against the Russian athletes. And some of top-level athletes in trail running, for example, Russian athletes, they are starting to look in some gaps in these sanctions just to take part in some competitions right now. No, and it's like very. I don't know how to explain it, but this news, when I found out this, they're just trying some way for them to take part in competition, to earn some prize money, and in situation when their country is just attacking another country, and some of these runners are working as a coach, and I know that they coached Ukrainian amateur athletes, you know. And in this situation, I waited from them more open position, more strict position. But what I see from them is just trying to save themselves, to save their earnings, their money. I don't see any thought about human life, about future in the world in general. Also, there is another part. I know that a lot of professional Russian athletes, they're also they have some formal position in Russia army. It's like
that's true. Actually, that is tied, isn't it? A lot of sports are sponsored by ministries or by
Yes, so they just part of the system, and it is another problem. So yes, the situation is that well, for this moment now, I don't think that in any situation I can behave kind towards Russians anywhere in competitions or any other places. Instead, except of those who openly say their positions that they're against this situation. No, well, yes, it's only two sportsmen that I know, but they are not afraid. Then why all other 100 million people afraid?
True, but that is true of all humans. We have a different appetite for risk, different strengths, and some people are braver than others. And actually, as hard as it may be, it might be that your best opportunity to try and convince individuals by trying to reach out, if you were to meet someone at a meet, and actually explain to them what's happening and explain about, because it could just be that ignorance has dominated Russia and they don't know. But do you think Russia can win?
Well, if they use chemical or nuclear weapon, they actually can win. That's true. And well, no, I didn't believe that they will invade Ukraine. I didn't believe that a Russian missile fell just 300 meters from the place I'm sitting now. I could not imagine that this can happen. That's why now I can accept that Russian president can give order to launch nuclear missile or to use chemical weapon. They can even, after all this, they can say that something like Ukrainians did it themselves just to, but I do understand that they can do it. So yes, in that case, well, but anyway, actually, to win in situation like now, yes, to win, it is not enough just to destroy Ukrainian president. Not all Ukrainians actually support our president or our ruling party. They have a lot of critics. But well, I tried to modulate for myself. No, I actually have also, my first education was political science, and I'm trying to modulate. Well, what would happen if Russia could impose those plans to kill Zelensky and to put somebody on his place? What would happen? And I understand that Ukrainians will not just shut down and all. We will have another meetings, another like Maidan, like in 2013 and 2004. Ukrainians are not Russians, like mentally.
Yeah.
To win, they have to kill everybody here. That's his problem. That's why I'm telling that this is fight for surviving. It's not like just for this territory.
And thinking that it is a possibility that he may use chemical weapons or nuclear weapons. We've heard that males have been asked to stay, have to stay. Do you think everyone does still want to stay? Even though there is a risk of total annihilation?
I think that those who wanted to escape, they're already somewhere abroad. It's not a big secret that there is always possibility to move out from the country. Theoretically, I could move out too, just because I am a PhD student and a sportsman, so there is always some possibility. But I don't want to. I know even some of my friends, just very close friends, who managed to go abroad, even with all these restrictions for males from 18 to 60. So they did find some way. People who afraid, they will find the way. And most of those who are still in Ukraine, I think they are ready to stay here until I hope until the victory.
And you mentioned that you feel the West have done more this time than last time. What would you actually want the West to do?
Well, Russia really has more military powers than Ukraine. In many ways, this military power supports by money that Western countries pay for Russian gas and oil, and so. This even economical sanctions against some Russian sectors, they still have some leaks that still letting Russia to earn this money that they're spending on the war. This is one part of this, more strict sanctions. Another part of this is that Ukraine really need more weapons. The main problem now in Ukraine is Russian missiles and Russian airplanes. We don't have enough weapons to protect the sky. So in air, Russians much stronger than we, and there is no way to hide. So to get these airplanes, to get powerful
anti-aircraft guns,
anti-aircraft missiles. So that's what we need, because all this NLAWs and Stingers, as far as I know, it's not enough. It's for close fights. It's not for this very long distance missiles that Russians use now on all our cities. A couple of days after starting of the war, when we already was in Zhytomyr, one of the first bombings of Zhytomyr was very close to our apartment. This was the first time when I was really scared. Those time in basement, I saw this shootings, but I was somehow I was sure that we will survive this. But there in Zhytomyr, where Russian just passed very close to our house, it was really scary. Sound of approaching missile. It's like you're really saying goodbye to your life. So, and this is a big problem, because I think that we are able to handle Russian forces on the earth, because I know these fighters. I know our troops. A lot of people who are fighting now in the first line. There are a lot of my friends. I know these guys. They're ready to fight with anything, and they're ready to win. But modern war is a war of weapons. Yes, it's mostly a war in the air, and yes, if modern world want peaceful life, I think they have to do something with this. Well, I can tell you another thing. But I really think it matters that even when we started not we started yet, even when Russia started war on Donbass and in Crimea annexation, yes, I was in those area, but I was not in this area in the time of fights. Yes, I did not hear myself these sounds of explosions, and now I hear it, and I feel this difference when you don't hear or see with your eyes what is happening. You can't understand it in all the way. It's like I understand a lot of European people. Yes, I understand that imposing more sanctions on Russia can influence their lives, like ordinary life of, I don't know, German clerk who want to buy cheap petrol for his car. And I can understand this, because when the same Russian jets was bombing Syria, for example, I did not think about Syria like I didn't realize this situation, because it's somewhere very far away from me. I think that most Europeans think the same way. If they don't hear or see it with their own senses, they can't understand the situations. But the truth is,
I do think there is a difference in that we are surrounded by Ukrainians, in a positive way, particularly in London.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true across all of Europe, but we all know people who have friends, and it's not to say we didn't know Syrians or didn't like Syrian people, but they weren't as integrated in our society, and they as Ukraine is Europe. We've all been there. Well, a lot of people have been there. And so in terms of the outcome then, like what do you see as the best case scenario now?
Well, I hope that it is possible to finish the war maybe in 1 month, the best case scenario, like with withdrawing all Russian forces. I think it's possible if we can really have some huge victories on the ground, like getting back Kherson, not letting Russian to move on Donbass, something like that. We already showed our power, but what I think is can change the situation radically is something that could happen in Russia itself. Maybe some more critical thinking from more and more Russian people, something like that, or at least from Russian oligarchs, which can say that it's time to stop all this, because a lot of Russians dying here as well, actually. Yes, more than 17,000 people. It's a lot of people. Well, so my best case scenario, it's like a little more fights, and just in a couple of weeks something will happen in Russian minds that will make them to stop and withdraw their forces. It's what I think could happen.
And for people at home, what is a good way in which, if we can help, they can help? If people want to take out training plans, how can they contact you? And are there any other suggestions of things you think we should be doing?
Well, I don't know. I know that raising money is one thing, but it's not what really have life-changing impact on situation. I think that it's very important. It's realization that you from your side can show your government that all this more help for Ukraine with weapons or with sanctions against Russia is a normal situation for people, because I think that a lot of state powers in Europe, they are afraid to be more rude against Russia, just because they think that, our people will not understand, people can't support these decisions against Russia because they don't want to lose their life comfort. Well, I think that European people,
that's what it is. It comes because even this month the price cap for it has changed, and so just today household bills have gone up by £700 plus approximately, and so actually the real driver is whether or not people are prepared to commit to not taking gas from Russia and higher bills, and that I think is the difficult thing, because for a lot of people, they aren't prepared to do that because they can't afford to, or they aren't prepared to make those sacrifices. And so I think that's the real challenge for Western governments until we can figure out a way to. Well, there is no easy way to stop the gas flow from Russia, because we don't have great provisions currently. So that's the hard part, I think, is for the government to make decisions, is where I truly believe that you have the full backing of our nation. But are people prepared to a year? That I don't know. And that is very much case by case.
Well, there is also another cheapest way, all the European people who have some connection with Russia and with Russian people, they could just try to explain real situation from their points of view. Maybe it's like trying to turn on this critical thinking in Russian minds, because what I seen is some not logical things, because there was this claim that Russia will win this war in 3 days. This time has passed. Russia did not win this war, but they still think that their authorities do everything right. Yes, 1 month passed. A lot of Russian soldiers died here, and they still don't think about this situation from the point of view, hey, what are we doing in Ukraine anyway? Nobody attacked Russia. Why we attacked another country? Yeah, well, maybe those people who has this connection with Russia, and I know that there are a lot of people like that, they could make their contribution in this mind-changing situation. You know, and all other things that can people do, they're already doing it, like donation, like accepting Ukrainian refugees, helping them to overcome all this strange situation.
And is there anything else that you feel you'd really like to say to the listeners about what's happening, or feel would be good for them to know?
Well, I want to say, first of all, thank you for support. Really, it's a great support. I really feel it, and a lot of Ukrainians feel it. Thank you for believing Ukraine, not Russia. I also see that most people they understand what truly is happening here, and who is a bad guy. And another thing that I want to tell everybody is that don't make this mistake that I think a lot of people are already doing. Yes, that I felt myself. Like, it means don't think like this war is some very far away from you. Because we are dealing with very dangerous country and with very dangerous leader of this country who will not stop in Ukraine if he win the war here. We already heard these claims on Russian television about conquering Poland and Baltic countries and going to Atlantic. So, in my opinion, it's not just words, you know, because we thought that invading Ukraine is just a words, but now it is reality. So their words can be reality for Europe as well. So my main thought is that, please, people, don't think that it's far away from you and it's not have concern to you. The world is like very united now, and it's very global, and there is no situation that can't affect any of citizen of any country.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and giving your insight and telling more about the reality of the situation on the ground in Ukraine. Do stay safe. If people want to reach out, to donate, to get training plans, what's the best way for them to do that?
My social media, you can always find me on Facebook, Serhii Popov. Well, my face is open there, so it's easy to find me, actually. So please, I'm ready to contact with anybody.
Well, thank you again for your time. And, if there's anything we can do to help, do let us know.
Thank you. Thank you very much.